Hey, Grand Rising, everybody. How y'all doing? Um, so I wanted to come on here because I told y'all in 2023 I was gonna get a little bit more deep with my content, only because I feel like some of you are ready for this and some of you aren't. But I feel like for those of you who have been following me for quite some time, you all know that the energy on the planet is ramping up. There's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of weather things going on. There's been this COVID thing happening. It's been a lot. Okay. So I wanted to come on here and have a real discussion with you guys. I know a lot of you come on here for tarot, which is all cool and dandy, but I do want to kind of get into the psychology of things that I think a lot of people tend to either ignore or not take into account when it comes to this word, this thing that we're seeing on the planet called karma. Um, People tend to think of karma in a sense where it's like, oh, what you do comes back to you, which is true. That is a very real way of looking at it, but I kind of want to give you guys a different perspective, a spiritual perspective per se, or maybe just a way to think outside the box when it comes to karma. It's something that is not discussed heavily in the scientific community. It's not discussed heavily in the spiritual community. We get people that are always throwing around this word karma, but they're not giving a really good understanding of what karma is and how it affects us and our offspring. Okay, so before I get into the meat of it, I'm going to give you a little bit of the milk. And the milk of the situation is this. I've explained to a lot of you who have been following me for quite some time that a lot of my journey through life and through spirituality has been guided. It has been me listening to my intuition, following what I feel, trusting that even when I'm not sure, that there's a reason why I feel this way and there's an importance behind me listening to myself. Every time I did not listen to myself or I did something off from what I felt I should be doing, it always ended up bad, meaning I always received some form of negative karma. Okay. So, first things first, for those of you who don't know, I have three adult sons. Okay. My oldest son will be 25. I have another son that's getting ready to turn 23, and I have a 20-year old that'll be 21 this month. And one of the things that I got a lot of flack for when my boys were growing up is people would say, don't tell them so much. Don't, children need to be protected from certain things. And I do agree with that to a certain extent. Okay. But also, I felt that me being honest with them about certain things would also prevent them from making the wrong decisions when it came to certain aspects. Now, I'm going to explain that a little bit more in depth so you guys can get where I'm coming from. So, I had at one point in my life a very, very, very terrible problem with lack. I had a lack mentality that it's something that has run in my family. Okay, but there's two different energies that runs on my mom's side of the family. My mother's side, we have people who are very abundant, and then we have people who lack, like bad, like bottom of the barrel bad. So I come from that on that side. Now my dad's side, those people tend to be a little bit more abundant, but also very dishonest, meaning they have a lot of secrets. They don't really tell what's really happening behind the scenes. Everybody's kind of religious, everybody is very holy. Everybody acts like they've never been young before. They act like they've never done anything wrong before. So there's a mysteriousness to that side of my family, okay? So with me, I dealt with, because I was raised by my mom primarily. My father was there. Yeah, I was at his house every weekend, all that, right? What would typically happen if two people split up and they have children, right? So with my children though, I wouldn't just come out and tell them things, right? There's a time and a place for everything. So when my sons came to me and started dating, there were certain things I would share with them. I say, hey, let me tell you about the relationship between me and your dad, so they can get an understanding of where I was coming from and where he was coming from in our relationship, at least as far as what I knew when it came to him. Okay. Now, people would say to me, that's going to backfire. That's going to backfire. That's going to backfire. But, and at the time, I didn't know if it would or not. Okay. But I do know that by me being honest with them about my struggles, alcoholism, how I tried certain things, everybody knows I've been very honest about my life path, my struggles, what I've been through. And I've tried things, okay? I've tried drugs. I've tried things, right? I was the typical person. I was young. I didn't get addicted to anything. I didn't stay doing anything, but I did try stuff. I've done things once or twice. I told y'all I've done ecstasy one time. I've done coke one time. I've done things, right? In my younger years, I did. So I was very honest with them. When they hit like 15, 16 years old, your hormones are going crazy. You're starting to think all types of ways. Now, keep in mind, I have this mysterious thing going on with my dad's side of the family, right? Now, my son's dad, there's a mysteriousness to his side of the family as well. But he, he and I, we were in a very toxic connection. Okay. We both needed to heal. He's from Chicago. I'm from New York. We come from the similar backgrounds, but in different places. Okay. So mentally, at the time, we both were not good for each other. Okay. Then let's keep in mind, I was a minor and he was an adult when we got together. So our relationship was 100% illegal. Okay, we weren't supposed to be together. He should have never been with me. Yes, I did at the time think very intelligently for my age, but it doesn't excuse the fact that I was the child in the scenario and he was not. Okay, so when my sons came to me and they said, Mama, I like this lady. I like this chick. I want to go out with her. Da, da, da. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to tell you when I did that, when I was in that situation, this is what happened with me. Hey, now, I used to drink a lot. I've drank and drive. I don't know how I got home. I've done some really bad things. And so when my sons would go out and experience things, they would come home and be like, Ma, I'm so glad you told me that, because let me tell you what happened. And they would end up experiencing a scenario to where I actually ended up saving them by being honest, right? And here's how I want to bring this in and wrap this into karma, okay? Um Karma is a very real thing. It's something that can't really be explained. Like scientists can't really tell you what karma is, why karma is. Why, when you do something, does it come back to you? What is this energetic thing that happens amongst the planet that just kind of makes things work the way that they do, right? We don't know why, we just know it is, right? So if you're being honest, right? Okay, so let's take a scenario. We have um the femicide rates for black women has gone up 33% in the last like year. So more black women are dying from femicide now than ever, according to the records that they keep. I don't keep the records, so I'm going by the records that they give to us for us to look at. Um, and what a lot of people are not associating with this energy, a lot of the young ladies who are being toe tagged right now with femicide rates have mothers. And this is, I'm not taking any shots at anybody. I want you guys to listen with your heart, okay? They have mothers who have been in situations, DV situations, SA situations, unhealthy karmic cycles with their parents, where they were nearly toe tagged and they've never shared this information with their children. Okay? Let's take the men, right? Black men are the most violent men on the planet amongst each other. Okay? We ain't gonna talk about the other nationalities and all the war and stuff. We ain't talking about that. Okay? I'm talking about the way that the violence that they share toward each other, the hate. the incarceration rates. And we're not going to act like we don't know that some of that is, people just hating. We know that. But a lot of it isn't. They are very violent. And a lot of times when black women are experiencing femicide, it is coming from a black man. Okay. So I had to be honest with my children about my experience. Hey, I got in a fight with this person. This almost happened. Hey, your dad almost threw me off a balcony. We was drunk. Da 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 da. I have to be honest so that if they ever one day were to think, I'm about to lose it, I'm about to snap, crackle, and pop and hurt this woman or whoever, right? I want them to remember. I want them to hear my voice saying, hey, I went through that. I went through that, but I'm still here and I didn't do anything stupid, right? And that's supposed to be the reminder for our offspring. We're supposed to be able to tell them something so that when they find themselves in that place, in that position in life, because trust me, they will. They will. Listen, your children, everything that you're trying to protect them from, they will experience it at some point in their life, okay? So when my boys got into situations where some woman was toxic and she wanted to hurt them, she wanted to harm them, and it did happen. As much as I tried to stop it, as much as I wanted to protect them from it, when they went out and they started dating, they found some toxic chick to get in a relationship that thought it was okay to put her hands on him or talk to him crazy, and he wasn't with it and he snapped. It happened, right? And of course, I wasn't there. So they came home and said, Mom, let me tell you what went down, right? So my sons have told me, Mom, the only reason I didn't hurt that lady is because of what you told me. The only reason I didn't hurt that dude is because of what you shared with me. Mom, the only reason I'm not in jail is because you told me about your experiences and how you went, right? So the very first thing we have to understand about karma, you have to be honest. You must be honest about your previous experiences, right? Because we're in an energy now where it's time for us to break generational cycles. People sometimes say generational curses, generational cycles. What is a generational cycle? A generational cycle is a pattern that passes on from person to person, from generation to generation, even if you have no access or knowledge of this said thing happening in your bloodline. Okay? And that is what we really want to dissect today. All right? So let's talk about negative energy, right? Let's talk about mental illness. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because it's real, right? Every time something happens now, what do we say? Oh, mental illness is real. Mental illness is real. Okay, let's talk about mental illness. Okay, mental illness is to me, and this is my own personal opinion. I could be wrong, but I personally believe that mental illness is a scapegoat word. I believe that it is a form of scapegoating. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying mental illness is not real. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is instead of us addressing the spiritual karma behind some of this behavior, it's easier for people to just blame it on mental illness. Oh, their mind doesn't think properly. Oh, they're having a chemical imbalance. This is the reason why they did ABC. Well, let's talk about mental imbalances. I don't know if you guys watched Dahmer, the television show that was on Netflix, Dahmer. If you paid attention to Dahmer's father, when Dahmer got caught and he got arrested and they found everything he did and he was locked up and all that, and they talked to his dad said, I used to think the same thing. Everything my son is doing, I thought about doing it, but I was able to fight it. If you listen to the interview with Dahmer, Dahmer said, I tried to fight it. I didn't understand where it was coming from. I tried to hide it. And that's where we err. We have to stop trying to hide the real things that are happening inside of us from our offspring, because it's not just about you and your thoughts, your DNA, your life experiences. This is also about the person that you decided to bring another person into the world with. Okay? So let's say you go and you have a one night stand. You get pregnant. You never see this guy again. You don't know anything about his background. You don't know anything about his history. You don't know, right? How dangerous do you think it is for you to bring that child into the earth? How dangerous do you think it is for you not being, for you not knowing what this person has experienced in their life? You've never met this person's mother. You don't know her story. That's why with me, when I date people, which I don't do often, okay, but when I date people, I want to come around your family, and I want to become friends with your family, because when people look at you in a friendly way, they tend to open up a little bit more, as opposed to, oh, that's Junior girlfriend. Y'all don't say nothing wrong because Junior girlfriend here. When you're friends, they tend to be a little bit more open, right? And this is the reason why it's important for you to be a friend with the person that you decide to bring a life into the earth with, because your child, if you both decide to have one, is going to be affected by your DNA and thought process and their DNA and thought process, okay? So let's say you have a son, okay? Everyone knows that the way that DNA works, you have chromosomes, right? We all have chromosomes. Women have two X chromosomes. Males have an X and Y chromosome, okay? X and Y or XX, all right? It just determines your sex, and also the way that you behave, the way you move, your gender, all that, okay? So let's take a boy child and a girl child, right? Both of those children are going to experience, because your DNA, your blood, it holds memories. And that's what they don't talk about. Your DNA and your blood holds memories. Do you understand how deep blood is? Do you understand why in the Bible they talked so much about Christ's blood? Why they still have communion? And it represents eating the flesh and drinking the blood. Do you guys understand what they're trying to tell you by not really telling you? They're trying to tell you guys something. I don't think you all are listening. What you need to understand, your child is dealing with masculine and feminine energy. So you have a girl child, right? She's over here trying to figure out, when do I stand down? When do I be strong? When am I protected? When do I feel like I'm in danger? Do you know that a woman who has been SA'd by a man before, the very first time it happens, she doesn't even know a lot of times that that's getting ready to happen to her? But after, if that woman is SA'd by a man once, trust and believe me, if it's in her power, it'll never happen again. Most women get SA'd one time. Once. Once. After that, any red flag, anything that feels off, anything that makes her uncomfortable, if her stomach starts moving funny, if she gets a headache, she gets nausea, she finna get the hell up out of there, because she gonna be like, no, 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 no. I know this feeling. I know what happened the last time I felt this and I didn't get my ass up and remove myself from this situation, right? So think about it. You got a kid. Your kid is dealing with feminine and masculine energy. That in itself is already too much for the average person to bear. Okay? And then here's what a lot of people don't combine either. They say men and women are so different. Men and women are so different. Well, we can argue that. And I'm going to tell you why we can argue that. Because we all have half our DNA from our mother and half our DNA from our father. Hold on, y'all. My nose running. But we all have half our DNA from our mother and half our DNA from our father. So technically, even though, yes, my gender is feminine, right? I am a woman. I do have a vajayjay. I can give birth. I have ovaries. I have boobies. I have all those qualities that come with a woman. But let's be real. On the inside, I'm half my dad. You get what I'm saying? My blood holds the memories of whatever is in my father's DNA generationally. It's in me. It's in me. Okay, so let's go there. Um, you have a bad attitude. Someone says something to you and you're ready to snap. Someone says something to you that you don't like and you punch them in the face. That for me would be a red flag for me to go and say, okay, Dad, what happened? What's going on? Mom, what's up? What's up with that? That's the type of individual I am, though. When I started thinking weird things, I would go to my mom and dad and be like, so why do I want to punch people in the face? Because I'm mad. And my mom was like, oh, yeah, let me tell you, yeah, your grandmother, yeah, she used to kick my ass all over the place. Yeah. Every time she got mad, she beat us all. It was 11 of us, so she didn't know who did it. So she just beat everybody. Oh, okay. So basically what you're saying that there's something in your DNA, something in her DNA, something even in her mother's DNA that says when I get upset, it's okay for me to pound on people. So now I understand this energy that's happening inside of me. So now let me see if I can figure out a solution, right? Because you can't solve a problem if you don't realize that the problem is there. Okay? Let's take something a little bit deeper. Let's take toe tagging. Um, you'll get some men that'll say, I don't even know what happened. We were sitting there talking, and the next thing you know, I just pulled out my blicky and I just popped everybody in the room. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I don't even remember. Now, I guarantee you, if you go and you take that person's DNA back and you were to track it, you would see the behavioral patterns somewhere. Somebody, granddaddy, great granddaddy, somebody went around choking people. Okay, they might not have all toe tagged them, but somebody went around popping people. Somebody went around doing something that was threatening somebody's life somewhere in their DNA. And this is what we have to start understanding about this so-called mental illness. Everything is not mental illness. Some stuff is things that your DNA remembers, and it's coming full circle. And a lot of people, especially black women, and I have to say this, okay, because this femicide rate is out of control, but a lot of black women are experiencing karma through their children. Okay, their daughters are the ones that are being taken out by these men because they're not being honest. They aren't saying, darling, listen, let me tell you what your dad did to me. Let me tell you about this Tyrone dude I kicked it with a long time ago and what happened. Let me tell you that I experienced bouts of low self-esteem where I stayed with a man who put his hands on me. Don't do it because this is how it ended up for me. You get what I'm saying? We have to start being honest with our children. We have to start telling them what we know, even if you don't know everything. Sometimes the things you don't know will answer all the questions. We have to start being honest. We have to. Because if we don't, karma is going to come. Karma is going to come full circle. It's the natural movement of karma. It's what karma does. Nobody has to tell karma to do it. Nobody has to tell karma to go and pay somebody back for what they did. It just is what it is. So if we're not going to be honest about our family histories, and let me tell you something about this ancestry thing. If you guys are into this ancestry thing and you're going back and you're researching these people, listen, and you're finding out who these genealogy people are, your great granddaddy and your cousins, your uncles, listen, go find out everything you can find out about those people on both sides of your family if you can. Listen to me. There was not a movement of 23andMe for no reason. Those people they wanted to be able to read your blood for a reason. It had nothing to do with where you came from. Because they have showed studies of people sending in animal hair. And they have been getting back DNA results saying, oh yeah, you're from Russia, you're from here, you're from there. Don't believe the hype. Them people wanted y'all's DNA for a reason. Thank God I didn't send mine to them. But them people wanted that DNA for a reason. They are studying human patterns, human behavior. Why do you think they know so much about mental illness? Why do you think they know so much about what to expect from a psychopath and a serial killer and why do you think they know? Somebody who go around robbing people. Why do you think they know this stuff, guys? Why do you think the very first thing they do to your baby after you give birth is go take your baby into a room and tell you, oh yeah, we just want to give them some vaccines, and they go and draw blood from your child? What do you think they're doing that for? Why do you think they're taking your baby's hand and footprint before you can even take your baby home from the hospital? What do you think they're doing that for? Don't you know those prints don't ever change? They just get bigger. Listen, y'all, we have to start being honest. Okay, we have to start being very honest. They make songs about the blood of Jesus for a reason. Okay, it's not because blood is insignificant. They're trying to tell you how significant blood actually is. I don't know why we aren't listening, but they're telling you you're worshiping someone according to religion. We're worshiping a man, and they're talking about the blood that was shed for us, but nobody's paying attention to blood. They're making songs. Nothing like the blood of Jesus. Why are you talking about somebody's blood who's been gone for 2023 years now? There's a reason for that. Okay? Now, poverty, toe tagging, promiscuity, dishonesty, narcissism, bipolarism, all that stuff, it's all embedded in the memory of your DNA. Your DNA has a memory. Just like your brain can remember things that's happened to you, your blood can remember trauma. Your blood can remember. I'll give you a true story according to what they say. It's a true story in the Bible. The story of Cain and Abel. When Cain slayed Abel, and God, well, this is according to their story, when God came and said to Cain, "What did you do to your brother Abel? His blood cried out from me from the ground." His blood was making a statement. His blood was saying, "He cut me. He hurt me. He toe tagged me." His blood. Okay? And then that was the first toe tagging, according to the book, that ever happened. And then that behavior, that man, Cain, was referred to as the devil's child. He was referred to as Satan. He was referred to as wicked. From that point on, he was always referred to as something bad. Okay? So, guys, you have to start looking deeper into this whole karmic thing that's happening. Okay, also other behavioral patterns are also things that are found in DNA that a lot of people don't understand either. So let's say, for instance, self-hate. Let's say someone doesn't like themselves, and this can go for any nationality of people, right? You have men who just hate women, right? They'll be like, "Oh, I can't stand these bitches," da, 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 whatever. They go around toe tagging women, or they're just bad people when it comes to women and relationships and things of the sort, right? A lot of them don't even like women. All of those things can be traced into your behavior, linked to your blood. And I don't think, honestly, and this is my own perspective from the outside looking in, I really don't think that the powers that be want us to know this stuff or to tap into this energy, because I think it would give us entirely too much power. Okay, I really do. Now, with your children, right? Um, there's no way to know every single thing that has happened in your bloodline. There's no way. There's absolutely no way to know. Um, but one of the things that you can do, especially those of you who haven't had children yet, we know that a lot of us already have children. Even when we're really young, some of us have babies at like 15, 16 years old. So we know there's, a lot of people with children. But especially for those of you who haven't had children yet, my recommendation for you would to be, especially if you aren't with someone you want to have children with yet, my recommendation to you would be to, if you can, get close to as many family members as you can that exhibit different types of behavior. So if you have someone who's really successful, go around them, befriend them, see what their mentality is, because sometimes successful people, well, I can say for my family, I can't really speak for anybody else's, but sometimes successful people come with a bit of arrogance. And I wanted to understand where that arrogance came from. So I did get close to the people in my family that were successful, because I wanted to know, where did that come from. But then I tied it together that a lot of that came from that poverty energy that I told you guys, that runs deep in my bloodline as well, where people get comfortable with being in poverty, and those who aren't, when they do get something, they're like, "Yeah, I made it. Let me rub it in your face, bitch. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got a nice house. Yeah, I got a pool. Yeah, I got a nice car. Yeah, yeah." It's kind of like this thing where they want to rub it in people's faces. But Also, when I looked at a lot of the people who weren't in poverty in my family, a lot of them married money. So they didn't go out and grind from the bottom up and make their way. Now for me, I didn't marry money. I grinded from the bottom up, and I have a totally different mentality than those women in my family who happened to marry some guy. They had a really good life insurance policy. He passed away and she got rich, or she married some rich guy or something like that, right? We don't think the same. We don't think the same. I'm not funny about, it for me. It's just like, okay, we got some money, like let's go eat, like whatever. You know what I mean? I don't give a shit what it costs on a menu, whatever. If I want it, I'm gonna get it, like whatever. I'm not thinking about it that way. But somebody who didn't work for abundance, of course they're gonna look at it a different way, right? So then you have like these patterns of men who I was watching oh shit, was it the first 48? I think I was watching a episode of the first 48, and there was an episode of a I think it was called like Leicester Street, right? um and there was a guy, and the guy, he had went to prison for like 11 years or something like that, and he was like pissed off at his family, like, oh, they didn't come see me, they didn't support me, da 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 da. Now mind you, this guy had went out and did all the wrong things, okay? And he ended up going to prison, got pissed off at his family because they wouldn't support his poor behavior. This dude got out of prison, y'all. He went home. I think he hadn't been home maybe a couple years. Listen, this dude snapped one day. He went in the house. He toe tagged his brother's wife, the brother's best friend, his wife, and all the children. Four adults and like five children. He went in there, and when I tell y'all, this dude went crazy. When he ran out of bullets, he went and got a knife and kept going. I was like, wow. Like, wow. Do you know how much trauma has to be trapped and embedded in your DNA for you to get that angry with someone for not holding your hand through your own poor behavior? Do you know how disruptive something has to be? Then I was looking deeper into it, and I found out that the two brothers didn't share the same dad. And I was like, but when you look at people, when you look at behavioral patterns, right? A lot of times you can see it. If you ask the right questions, if you go around the right people, if you make sure you're in the right energy. There's been times where I've went around people and I've offered them alcohol because, sometimes people are uptight and don't want to tell you stuff. And I'll be like, hey, I brought some wine for everybody. You know what I mean? And once people loosen up a little bit, they'll start to tell you stuff. I've dated guys where their mother, their sister, their cousins have put me to the side and be like, girl, you too good for him. I don't know what you with him for. Let me tell you what he be doing. He be beating chicks up. He be doing this. He be doing that. He be doing this. He be doing that. And I'm like, oh, maybe my discernment is not as sharp as I want it to be, right? And of course, this is when I was younger. I was still learning. I was still taking notes, and I'm still learning. I wasn't as sharp as I am now, but it taught me to pay attention to the way a person looks at you, the look that they have in their eyes. For me now, I can look in a person's eyes, and there's certain things I can pick up on just from the way they look at me. I can tell when a person is a liar. I can tell when a person doesn't really like me, even if they're smiling. They could be smiling, laughing, joking, eating, having a good time, high five, and all that. I can tell. I can tell when a person is dealing with actual mental illness. I can tell when a person's sick. I can tell when a person, I can tell a lot of stuff. I can tell when a person wants to take advantage of you in a not so healthy way when you're saying no, right? I can tell. And it's only because when I was warned of things, I didn't go, oh, they just hating. Oh, no, they just don't want to see me with Junior. No, his family just don't like him because he a baller. I wasn't stupid like that. I was the type of person that said, oh, damn, he beat chicks up. Okay, well, damn. All right. And then I would go and I would start playing what happened between he and I in my memory bank. Of course, I would break up with him, but I would go and play the memory. And I'm like, oh, so that look was, okay, so that meant, oh, okay, so that was, okay, that was this and that was that, right? Now, let me talk about my children, because I can only talk about my children. I don't want to offend anybody who's a parent out here. But so as my children got older, because we do have a very open relationship where my children know that they can pretty much come to me and talk to me about everything. Now, do they come and talk to me about everything? Probably not. They know it's certain stuff I don't want to know, right? But for the most part, they talk to me about everything. Shit I don't want to know, okay? Sex with their partners and all type of nonsense I don't be wanting to hear. But whatever. I'm their mom. I told them to be open, tell me what they want me to know, and they do. Okay? So, I remember my son, my oldest son, he came to me one day and he said, Mama. I said, what, baby? What's wrong? He said, I can't drink. And I said, why? He's old enough. He old enough. He got money. He got a job. He take care of himself. He buys his own alcohol. He asking me for that. I said, why? He said, Mom. He said, remember how you told me you and my dad both could drink like a lot and y'all used to get in a lot of trouble? I said, yeah. He said, Mom, I went to a party. He said, I drunk everything. He said, I didn't even get drunk. He said, Mama, it scared me so bad. Because I was like, damn, I think this is what my mom was talking about. I think this is what she meant. I said, yeah. He said, Ma, he said it scared him. He could drink so much that it scared him. But imagine had I not shared that with him. Had I not shared with him how I went through alcoholism, how I almost killed myself, how I drove drunk and went to jail for DUIs. Imagine had I not shared that with him and he went to that party and experienced that energy. What if he would have took that as something going on in his DNA and he would have snapped on everybody instead of saying, damn, this is what mom was telling me about. Imagine if he would have went and grabbed somebody by the throat. Because alcohol takes you out of your element. Let's be honest, okay? When you go and buy alcohol, some of the liquor stores even say wine and spirits. As if they're not telling you that there's spiritual connection between alcohol and you, right? So imagine had he took that as something else. Imagine I had not popped up into his mind and said, hey son, you make sure you be careful with that alcohol, because let me tell you the way how I was. Let me tell you about me and your daddy. Let me tell you about when we would drink, how we would fight. Let me tell you about how he almost killed me while we was drinking. Let me tell you about this toxic shit that was going on. Imagine had I not said anything. Imagine what could have been. Thank God it wasn't. But what could have been had I not said anything to him? Promiscuity. A lot of women have to stop lying to their daughters about thoughts that has happened in their minds. Some people will say things like, oh, I don't want my children a part of the LGBTQ community. Okay, well, let's be real. Have you ever thought about it? Have you? And this is not taking shots at anybody. It's being honest. How many men have sons that are in the LGBTQ community that thought that? But some of those men aren't there to tell their sons, like, hey, man, I dealt with some, energy. Well, I ain't know what I wanted to do either. It kind of comes with the territory, especially now. With everything being so free and so open, and, we got slut shaming and slut walks, and, you can't body shame, and you can marry the same sex and all that. Listen, it should be expected that a person would think or have some sort of issues with their sexuality at some point in their life. And sometimes it happens for people when they're older. You have to be honest. You have to be real. You have to tell your daughter that before you got pregnant with her, you stripped for 2 years to pay your bills. Be honest. Because what are they going to do? You raise them. You can't take it back. You can't take it back. You have to tell your children that you tried certain things. You did this drug, you did that. I was very, very honest with my children about when those things came. If there came a time where I needed to share with them my experiences in life because I wanted them to not follow my negative behaviors, I had to tell them. And it's important that you tell them. And I'm not saying bombard your children when they 4 and 5 years old and be like, girl, let me tell you, mama done did drugs before, so don't you go around here doing no drugs. Not that. Not the unhealthy stuff. When they have situations in life where they come to you and they need advice, That is the best time for you to just be honest. If you have to cry, if you have to break down, if you have to apologize, if you have to tell them how embarrassed and humiliated you were for things that you did, it will work in your favor for you to be honest with your children so that if they find themselves, because trust me when I tell you, they will. When they find themselves in a sticky situation, the first voice that comes to their head is yours. Not some spirit, not something they heard, not something that happened, not some dude that told them it was all right to go down and get fellatio to everybody in the room. Your voice is the first voice you want your child to hear. And the reason why it's important that the first voice that you want your child to hear when they find themselves in a karmic situation is because we know, as their parent, the information that we're going to get to our children is going to come from a loving place, even if the information is very negative. If I have to sit down and tell my child that I tried doing coke one time in my 20s in order to prevent my child from becoming a coke head, I'll take that. Whatever comes with it. If it comes with them not liking me anymore, if it comes with them being upset, if it comes with them thinking a certain way about me, I can fix that because I'm not that person today. I can deal with that. I can take that in stride. But what I can't take, I'm going to tell you what I cannot take as a parent. I can't take knowing what I know throughout my life experiences about what I know about people, what I know about karmic energy, negative energy. I cannot take knowing what I know and watching my children fail in areas where I could have helped or saved them. What is the best way to save someone? You have to educate them, right? They say financial literacy is the way that you help get yourself out of poverty, right? Positive affirmations, saving money. Those are all proactive ways in order for you to get yourself out of a poverty or lack mentality. Okay, how do we break generational curses? How do we break generational patterns? The very first step to doing so, we have to be honest. You have to stop being embarrassed of your life experiences. The reason why the life experiences, the things that have happened in your life has happened is so that you are to save someone. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. If it's embarrassing, good. Humility is good for you. Humility will save you sometime. Humility will save you from losing your home and your assets sometime. Staying humble. Not thinking that you're above people. Not being condescending. That can save you sometimes. Stay humble. If you woke up tomorrow and became a billionaire, please stay humble. Please never forget where you came from. Please never think that you're better than anyone. Please don't think that you can't go to bed and be a billionaire like Kanye West and wake up a not so billionaire. Please don't. Because that's what we watched happen. He lost his humility. He said, oh, I'm a billionaire. I can go in here and tell these people whatever I want. Dude, these are the people who pay you. Are you crazy? Right? So we have to start thinking of things in a manner where we're taking into, like, we take everything else into consideration when it comes to our children, right? We'll be like, oh, I can't drink tonight. I have the kids. Oh, I can't wear that. I don't want my daughter to see me with that. Oh, no, I can't have a guy over because my kids are in the next room. Oh, no, I don't want to invite some guy over to my house because I have children, right? We'll take our children into consideration when it comes to everything when they're little. But we don't think about when they become young adults. And their minds are all over the place. And they trying to fight with your energy and their daddy energy and their grandma energy and their auntie energy. It's like, dude, really? We gonna sit here and act like our children are not going to experience the same thing? Listen, guys, whatever it is that you went through, your children are gonna experience that times 10. I was born in 80. Okay? My children go through things that I would never even, like, dude, I can't even imagine some of the things that my children go through. I can't even imagine it. Sometimes they have to tell me stuff and I be like, Word, they be like, Mom, it's bad out here. It's bad out here. But equally, right? I'm learning about the new generation through my children. Now they're teaching me, and they're being honest with me. They say, "Mom, no, no, no. Look, I'm gonna tell you about these dudes, ma. Nah, don't do that, cause I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you what these old heads said to me, ma. Let me tell you the way these dudes out here doing, ma. Man, I got a couple of friends at my job, old dudes. Let me tell you what they be saying about women. They're teaching me, cause I'm not out here dating. You know what I'm saying? And I'm teaching them about the way women think from my experience. So we both still teaching each other. But that is supposed to be what breaking generational curses is supposed to be about. We're supposed to be teaching each other. Our children should be able to come to us freely and say, Mom, Dad, let me tell you what's going on. And you should be able to freely say, you know what, baby, I got a real embarrassing, humiliating story to tell you, but let me tell you about what happened to me. And the only reason I'm going to share this story with you is because I don't want to see it happen to you. You have to be honest. My kids come to me and they say, Mom, tell me a story. And I'll just tell them something. Sometimes they think my life is a movie, I swear, y'all. But sometimes I just tell them something that I think they need to know, or something that I think can help them. I told y'all like a month ago, I walked around the house for a whole like 24 to 48 hours just acting toxic. I think it was like a week I did it, but I was just being toxic. And my kids was like, Mom, what is wrong with you? I said, I have to show you what toxicity look like, so when you see it, you'll recognize it. I had to get beat upside my head to understand what a DV relationship is. I don't want my children to go through that. So I walked around the house slamming doors, waking people up at 8 o'clock in the morning, cussing people out for no reason, grabbing people's phone, going through their phone, running to the bathroom, locking the door, the way toxic people do. Ready to fight people for no reason. Of course, I wasn't going to fight them. But I was just being toxic because I want them to see that behavior. So when it happens, they say, damn, I remember my mom was sitting there joking and playing around, walking around the house, talking about this, how them toxic females get down. But who else going to teach them? If I don't teach them, guess what? They going to have to go out in the world and get with some toxic chick, okay, that's gonna be ready to do something to one of these boys, and then now my son in jail for 30 years because he done wrapped his hands around her throat and choked her the fuck out because she wouldn't stop playing. No. If I can prevent that for your future, if I can keep you out of prison, if I can keep you from wrapping your hands around Shaniqua's throat and choking her until she is no longer in existence, if I can keep you from going out here drunk driving, and if I can keep you off a stripper pole, if I can keep you from being a prostitute, if I can keep you from being a drug dealer, I am going to do it. That's my responsibility as your mother. Because just because you turn 18 doesn't mean my job ends. It doesn't stop just because you are an adult in the eyes of the law. No, I'm still your mama. It's still my job to teach you. But now I have to be open to learning from you as well. Because you're out creating your own experiences through life. Do we understand how this whole karmic thing works and how it goes hand in hand with our DNA? Y'all, I had to tell my children, listen, y'all daddy like to put his hands and feet on people. Y'all daddy like underage girls. I was underage. And I wasn't the only one. So they said, oh, okay. Now they be like, hey girl, let me see your ID. It run in the family. Not on my side. But it's there. It's half their DNA. They know what's up. You know what I'm saying? Come to me, my mama. Man, I'm telling you, boy, I like them white girls. I said, I know you do. Your daddy like them too. You got mixed siblings, mixed brothers and sisters. Duh. But now you understand where it comes from. You get what I'm saying? We have to start being absolutely 100% honest with our children about our life experiences and what we know about their other parent. If we are not, guys, we're forcing our children to get up and go out in a world. And when I tell you this world do not care about your kids, they don't care about their safety. They don't care that they're a minor. They don't care. I had to tell my children how 30 and 40-year-old men used to try to get with me when I was young. I had to tell them a lot of stuff that was embarrassing. It was. But in order for me to, if I have to be the living sacrifice, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? We're supposed to be sacrificing our own humility, our own poverty, our own state of mind for the betterment of our children. Don't we all want our children to end up better than us? Or do we all want to see our kids going through what we went through, right? If we don't want that to be the outcome, we gotta be honest, y'all. It's gotten to a point now where I'm tired of seeing karma coming back and slapping people in the face. And I'm sitting here on YouTube and watching these mothers up here crying and screaming at the top of their lungs about how he didn't have to kill my baby. He didn't have to kill my baby. He didn't. But you're not going to convince me that you ain't never been in a situation where somebody damn near took your life with the femicide rates the way that they are in our community. In all communities, really. Women are always the weaker vessel, the weaker target of men when they get angry. Always. In all communities. So you women can't sit here and pretend like you haven't experienced anything that you don't think your daughter could benefit from, or even your son. Tell your child about how their daddy got locked up. Some people, I've heard women say this, oh, I don't want to speak negatively about their daddy. Huh? So you don't want to tell your child where their parent erred, where they went wrong, so that you can prevent them possibly from making the same mistake. Now, I'm not saying being honest with your children is 100% going to make your child listen and going to make your child do the right thing and make them not make mistakes. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is it's a very high chance that your child is going to hear your voice before they hear anything else. Whatever, when the situation happens. Okay, whatever the scenario is. And let me tell you another secret. I shared a lot of stories with my children about family members as well. Everything wasn't just my experiences. I shared with them about other family members, older family members, younger family members. I had a cousin that got pregnant when she was 11, had a baby at 12. You better wrap that thing up. And they know her personally. She used to live with us. So they know how she think and how she get down. They know. And let me tell you her story. Okay? I got crackheads in my family. I have lawyers in my family. I have doctors in my family. I have drug dealers in my family. I have pimps in my family. I have prostitutes in my family. I have teachers in my family. Listen, you gonna learn. Listen, if I got all this going on in my family, there is too much wisdom that I have in me to give to you for you to be out here doing something stupid. Okay? So if you guys want to help to prevent your children from receiving bad karma, or even you being on the end of bad karma, where you don't end up having to bury your daughter or go and visit your son behind a piece of glass talking to him on one of them damn jail phones, start being honest with your children. Okay? Because a lot of people that are being dishonest, they're at a cemetery putting flowers out there for their children because they're not being honest about what's really going on. There's some women who have children with men who are absolute weirdos. Okay? Absolute fucking weirdos. And they're wondering why their children run around acting weird. I don't know why he acting like that. I was always a good mother. Girl, your baby got half his daddy DNA. What is wrong with you? Are you like oblivious to that, or like are we living in the same place? Like, are we both on earth? I'm trying to figure it out, because if we don't start looking at things, okay, and in a realistic way, we have to start looking at karma in a realistic way, and also attaching it to our bloodline. Okay, a lot of your thoughts, the way that you think, comes from your bloodline. Okay, so low self-esteem, being degenerate, being somebody who goes around toe tagging people. A lot of those people have family history of that stuff. Look it up. Look it up, y'all. You ain't gotta listen to me. Go look it up yourself. Okay, promiscuous women. You know, they promiscuous. They daughters promiscuous. They daughters promiscuous. The grandmama was promiscuous. Listen, we have to start being real around here, okay? And I'm not saying it ain't a few that slip through the cracks and don't end up being like that, but we have to start being honest with our children about our real lived experiences, so that later on we aren't suffering karmic repercussions of us not being honest with them. With the reason why you had your life experiences is so that you could learn and then teach. The very first place that you start is at home. Those of you who have children, you have young nieces, young nephews, young people around you that you can help, you have to help them. It is your job. It is your duty. I'm not telling you to go on the block and feed everybody, but information is food for the soul. Be honest. Be real. Be thoughtful. and maintain your humility. Understand that the experiences that you had, you didn't have those in order to humiliate you. You had those so that later your children wouldn't be humiliated. And you wouldn't have to go to a cemetery and put flowers on your child's grave. And you don't have to go and bail your child out of prison 8 times for doing the same damn thing. Or your child ain't got behind the wheel of a car and toe tagged somebody because they was intoxicated. Or your daughter ain't sitting here in a relationship with some dude that's going all upside her head for 10 years before he finally toe tagged her. Like, guys, a lot of us have a lot of control over karma. It's all about doing things the right way. It's all about doing things the right way. There's a right and a wrong way to do everything. And you have to be honest. You have to be real. You have to tell the fucking truth. You have to sit your children down when it's time, because they're going to come to you and they're going to want advice about things. They're going to want advice about relationships. They're going to want advice about their bodies when they start having menstrual cycles, and their bodies start changing. They start dating and they start doing this and they start doing that, and they're going to have issues. And sometimes they're not going to tell you those things. Jeff Dahmer never went to his dad and said, "Dad, I'm having these weird thoughts." But you know what his dad should have done, which is what I do? I don't care if you don't ask me. I'm going to tell you. Because I started thinking that way when I was this age. And you're that age. You're 15, 16 years old. Yep, about 15, 16 years old is when my hormones started acting up. And I didn't know why I was horny and didn't even know what horny was. Okay? I'm going to tell the truth. So sometimes we have to use discernment. And we have to say, how old was I when my body started to change? How old was I when I was in a low self-esteem? How old was I when I let that person put their hands on me? How old was I when I got married and realized my partner was toxic? How old was I when I was out at the club every weekend drinking and driving drunk and getting in trouble? We have to be honest. We have to. We have to be honest about how our experiences make us think some really effed up stuff sometimes, y'all. Poverty will make you think things you never thought of thinking of doing ever. Being hungry will make you do things it'll make you think about doing things that you never thought possible to eat. And we have to be honest about that. We have to start telling our children the truth. Because us not doing it, guys, look at the world. Look at what's happening. The femicide rate went up 33% in the last year or two. We don't think that's karma. We don't think black men being the number one incarcerated, the number one being toe tagged, we don't think that's karma. We don't think there's something spiritually going on here. The average serial killer is a white male. His target is normally a white woman. We don't think there's something spiritual going on with that. Start tying things together and start being wise about the way that you're communicating with your children. I'm not, like I said, I'm not telling every single person to go out here and sit their, infant children down and tell them about all the woes of life. That's not what I'm saying. But there's going to come a time in your child's life, especially those teens, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all that. Listen, you need to start dropping gems on your offspring. You need to start being very honest with them. You need to start being honest with them about your own life experiences, the things you experience with their other parent. Some of y'all are in relationships with people that are toxic, but you've learned to hide it. You've learned to be quiet about it. And you need to start being honest, because you're giving the impression to your daughter that it's okay to put up with toxic behavior and just act like it doesn't exist. And these girls are being toe tagged at a rate that's astronomical. Okay, I got one last thing and then I'm going to get my behind up out of here. But I want to read something for you guys real quick, because I looked this up before I got on here. So I have an article here from The Guardian. They were voted the news website of the year. Okay. And I just want to talk about this. And this is just for any nationality of woman or people in general. But this is just some information to give you guys something to think about. All right. So this article is titled Guns and Lies from The Guardian. Guns and Lies. An unspoken epidemic. Homicide rate increases for black women rivals. Homicide rate increases. I'm sorry. Homicide rate increase for black women rivals that of black men. It says 5 black women and girls were killed each day in 2020, most of them with guns. Gender violence must be at the center of the gun debate, advocates say. In 2020, a year of rising homicides amid a devastating pandemic in the U.S., the increase in the death rate of for black women rivaled that of black men. As homicides increased nearly 30% nationwide that year, the rate for black women and girls rose 33%, a sharper increase than for every demographic except black men, and more than double that of white women. According to the Guardian analysis of homicide data from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, killings of black women and girls increase across age groups, from school-age children to senior citizens. Gun violence drove the increase, with 3/4 of homicide victims who were black women and girls dying from gunshot wounds. The increase only worsened as unspoken epidemic. The increase only worsened an unspoken epidemic that has been unfolding over years, advocates say. From the mainstream feminist movement to the news media to law enforcement to community violence prevention organizations, many institutions have stayed silent about the crisis of violence against black women who are expected to care for others but often do not receive the same level of care. The homicide rate amongst black men in the U.S. has long captured national headlines. But despite decades of black feminist scholarship and organization on the topic, violence against black women and girls continue to receive little attention. The headlines are: Black men and boys face astronomical homicide rates, or Black men and boys face an increase in homicide that's deeply troubling. You might get a paragraph that says, and so are black women and girls. So basically what they're saying on this part, the violence and homicide rates against black men are getting all the attention, while the homicide and violence against black women is kind of being pushed to the side or not mentioned at all. Okay? Oh, Lord have mercy. And so are black women and girls, said Kimberly Crenshaw, a black feminist leader scholar whose work has highlighted police violence against black women. Often, the data doesn't even get reported. Oh my God, I'm going to say that again. Often, the data doesn't even get reported. The heightened vulnerability of black women to violence should be seen and addressed as a crisis alongside the already recognized epidemic of black male homicide, Crenshaw said. Community violence prevention typically focuses on black men and boys who face the highest risk of being killed, and domestic violence advocacy is most often shaped by the experiences of white women. We gonna read that one more time. Community violence prevention typically focuses on black men and boys who face the highest risk of being killed, and domestic violence advocacy is most often shaped by the experiences of white women, researchers say. This creates a vacuum of solutions tailored to the unique ways that black women and girls are vulnerable to violence. A national march against black femicide is being planned for late August in Washington, D.C., where the homicide rate for black women was among the highest in the nation in 2020. Rosa Page, an Arkansas based nurse and founder of Black Femicide USA, is helping to organize the march. So I just wanted to bring that information forward. Like I said, you guys could go on The Guardian and type it in. The article is called Guns and Lies. But I really want you guys to go on there and look at like the charts that they have for the rates of what's going on and everything of the sort. But please remember, a lot of this is karma, guys. And I'm going to tell you something. And this is specifically to black people in general. In the black community, there's a lot of shame that happens for healing, for going to counseling, for being spiritual. You know, I get thrown to the dog sometimes because I read tarot. I'm told that I should, I'm the devil and this and that, right? There's a lot of shame that happens when it comes to our healing and the things that we use to heal. Now, you guys have to remember, I came up in a background of Christianity, right? And when I started to venture off from that in order for me to figure out how to heal, I had to open a lot of doors, and some of them had brick walls. But when I found what worked for me, okay, I went with it because it works, right? And not saying it's the only way to heal, but it does help, right? So, black people have the biggest issue with dealing with their shit. They have the biggest issues with going and sitting down with a therapist or a counselor and talking about what happened. Black people have this stigma, especially when I was coming up in the 80s and 90s. There was a thing that our parents used to say to us: what happens in my house stays in my house. And I think that that's something that's generational, because I've heard women who grew up in the 70s and the 60s say it was the same for them. Now, I don't know where this mentality came from. I'm sure it has something to do with picking cotton, okay? Because I know we had to keep secrets during that time. I do. I know that. Because there were certain things that was punishable by death. So I get it, right? But we aren't living in those times anymore. None of us are forced to pick cotton. Even though I do jokingly say us working is picking cotton, because I'm just saying we're all working and we're all, we're being used, right? But we all know that already. But what I mean is, it's okay to get help. It's okay to talk about what hurt or harm you. It's okay to talk about those things that happened behind those four walls when you were a child. It's okay to talk about the essay that happened with your siblings and your cousins and your dads and whoever. Okay? You guys have to be okay with healing a lot of this trauma that we're holding in our DNA. Because what I think we're forgetting, your blood, when you get pregnant with a child, your blood is flowing through that child's veins for 9 months. So everything that's in your DNA, all of those memories that your blood is holding, is being downloaded into your unborn child. So when you get that 3-year-old that want to lie, you get that 4-year-old that's running around twerking. I mean, that is tribal too, though. But you get that little 10-year-old that toe tags their mama because she won't buy them a video game. When you get that kid that has that low self-esteem and they're not even old enough to understand what self-esteem is, you take them to the store and they go grab everything that don't look like them. Those are signs. And you guys need to start looking at them as signs. And you need to start understanding that you are complicit in this karma that's happening. You are. When it comes to your bloodline, you are. If you are, it's your responsibility to heal your trauma. It's your responsibility to break generational cycles. It's your responsibility to be honest about your life experiences. It's your responsibility to do so. If you aren't reporting people hurting you, if you watching Tyrone walking through the neighborhood, breaking in everybody's house and toe tagging people and selling drugs and making the neighborhood unsafe, and you're not saying anything, you're complicit in wherever karma comes with that. If you didn't tell on Tyrone for 3 years and then he turned around and toe tagged your son, you don't get to cry and act a fool. No. You didn't care when he did it to the neighbor's son. Okay? So we have to be honest. We have to start being honest. We have to practice some humility. And if, like I said, if we need to cry, if we need to accept that we did some things that was trifling as hell, if we have to accept that we tried some things that we're embarrassed of, you know how you know you're embarrassed of something? You don't do it no more. But don't beat yourself up about your experiences, guys. It's called trial and error. It comes with the territory. We all go through things. We all, how else do you learn? How did the first people who ever existed on the planet learn? They had to go out and do stuff. Oh shit, we can drown. Oh shit, I went in the water, bitch. I was flapping and I died. Like that's how you learn. You know? So be honest with yourself. Be honest with your children. Let's break these generational karmic cycles, guys. It's up to us. All right? It's a new energy on the planet. We got to move with it. It's time to grow up. I done told y'all that already. All right? I love each and every one of you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later.